Chapter 10. More stories. All 3 or 4 days the humans in the group have to search for food. Sam and Fino had their blood packs and need only a few packages in the year. But the humans need everyday food to be strong for the fight against the zombies. To didn't waste time, they drive to the next supermarket and take what they need, and then they continue their way. For the luck they didn't need to search for the undead. The walking stinkers were always close to the living. They had any kind of magnetism to find humans and never walk aimless through forests or cities like the movies. The group was too small to fight against big groups of undead, and so they only free small towns or villages. For the great city fights, the army was in charge, to free them piece for piece. In the small towns and villages, the group used always the same method. The folks built walls and fences to keep the zombies away. If Walking Dead appear in the village, they cut them immediately in pieces and threw them over the walls and fences. That was bait for the other zombies, and so they get more they want. The methods of the group were always the same and good trained. The fighters divided in 2 small groups with 10 humans and 1 vampire. Then they attack the zombies from 2 sides and break a line into the flesh eaters. Sam and Fino fights always in front of the group and break legs as much as they can with their supernatural power and speed. After the first vampire waves, the 2 fighters of the humans did the rest of the still stander. To get all walkers was too difficult also for the vampires. They didn't get all at the first time. Phil, Mark, Henry and Sven break the legs of the rest. After all zombies bite in the ground, the other in the group began to cut the shaking corpse in pieces. The end was always the same. The body parts were buried under the ground. To thank us, the people give us food or a bed to sleep if it's time. If not, we search for a roof, make fire, eat ravioli from a tin, meat on sticks, soups or fruits out of tin, and tell each other stories. Marie's story was the worst, but all stories contain the same: zombies. In the case of the zombie apocalypse, Anja and Susan tell the most beautiful story, although it was for them pure horror. After they made a fire, empty their tins or take a big taste of a wine bottle, Anja tells them how she met Susan. They starts a few days before she found Susan, but after she lost her husband. After a car accident, her husband lost a lot of blood and come back without a surprise as a zombie. He attacked Anja in the kitchen. She was cooking a chicken soup to cure him. She really thought a flu soup could help by broken legs. Today she can't understand how stupid she was. In the moment he come in the kitchen and sounds like an animal, Anja was shocked but still clear in mind and take a kitchen axe and hit her dead husband. With his many bone fractures he can't move very fast. He wasn't able to catch her with his partly broken fingers or bite her. Also his legs weren't in top condition. In the news they say that it is important to cut the undead in pieces. With that information Anja began to hit his neck. After approximate 20 hits, the head of her dead husband fall to the ground. The arms and legs fall similar. Totally down and still under shock, she sank on the kitchen ground and stared on the shaking body parts for minutes without a reaction. After a few minutes she get her mind back, stand up and dried her tears on the sweatshirt. Parallel she takes kitchen gloves and fills up a few waste bags with the shaking body parts. That the bags didn't get too heavy, she separated torso from the extremities and the head. Now she had to waste only a half husband per bag in her garden. The half weight was still very heavy for a woman. In the garden Anja dig a hole and bury her husband without a word in the ground. She was finished with the world and was too tired to say anything. For days Anja stayed in the house and didn't want to leave it. She was totally terrified and was too afraid to go out and be a victim of these human eaters. After a few weeks, she eats the last food and gets hungry. The hunger gets bigger from day to day, but she can't go out, her fear was still too big. But after a few days without food, her hunger gets unbelievable huge, that the fear looks tiny. If she weren't so hungry, she never leave the house. But the hunger was bigger than the fear against the zombies. Armed with her kitchen axe, Anja leave very carefully the house and go to the next door. She looks carefully around before she continues her way. To get into the store was easy. She wasn't the first who want food for free. The front window of the shop was broken approximate a few days before Anja arrived. Inside the store wasn't now very much to steal. She takes what she needs as much as she can and went back to her house very fast. In the moment she leaves the store, suddenly a group of 15 or 20 zombies come around the corner. Although Anja was approximate over 100 meters far from the undead, the walking stinger saw her and changed directly their direction immediately and walked to her. Anja gets shocked and a few tins of soup fall on the ground. At first she tried to catch them, but after the zombies get closer than 50 meters, she forgot the tins and ran like the wind. Although Walking Dead are not very fast, and you can trust that they never give up and hunt you to the end of the world. If you didn't find a very good hiding place or be faster, they get you sooner or later. Zombies didn't need sleep or rest or get tired. Anja was fit, but with every step the food in her bag gets heavier and she lost speed. She tried to hide in a sideway, but it was a dead end, and she sit in a trap. The zombies didn't see in which direction she was gone. But after a few minutes they will find her. Anja had no chance. She had to fight, also if they are too much or not. She walks back to the end of the sideway, to get more space to fight and to be flexible. As the first zombie arrived, she moved as fast as she could and cut heads as much as she can. The first 5 wasn't a problem, but the walking headless corpse tried to catch her. Anytime there will be too much and she will lose the battle. Suddenly a door opened and a female voice called her to come in. It was the voice of Susan. She saw all from the roof. After she saw the brave fight against too much enemies, she know it will be a value to help and to find a companion in trust and friendship. After Anja gets in, Susan tried to lock up the door with an iron stick. She knows that would stop them only for a few seconds. The big group will break in soon enough. Without a word, Susan take Anja's arm and pull her upstairs in the 3rd floor. In the highest etage of this building was a ladder to the roof. One after one they climbed on the roof because the first undead comes after them. Anja tried to take the ladder on the roof, but it was screwed on the wall. In panic she starts to cry. Susan comes to silence her and asked her, "What are the tears about? You are safe now." Confused asked Anja, "And the ladder?" Susan explains her that the zombies are too stupid to climb. They were hardly able to use stairs, but a ladder is too difficult for that foolish meat. After a few minutes Anja lost her fear and Susan say her name. Anja shake her hand, thanks her and tell Susan her name. In the meantime the zombies find the way to the ladder and surrounded the way on the wall to the roof. The undead stretch their arms up to the hole in the ceiling. But Susan was right. No zombie was able to climb. This totally dumb piece of stinking flesh didn't try it. Now the women were in prison, but very glad to find each other. The sunsets come very fast and it gets dark. To sleep, the women lie under a plastic sheet in Susan's big sleeping bag. At this evening and in the darkness they couldn't find a way down to leave the roof. At the next morning, Susan wake up at first. She tried to avoid to waking up Anja and slide slowly out of the sheet, but the plastic make noises and Anja wake up too. After both get up, they try to work together to find a way for an escape. They go from roof edge to roof edge and look for a solution. But the other buildings were too far, or the roofs were too deep or too high to jump. The only way to leave the roof was the hole in the ceiling and a ladder on the wall. This way was blocked with approximate 15 or 20 human flesh eater, who be there forever or the women died. There was no way, the women have to use this way. For a small invasion of 5 or 7 undead, Susan keep a canister of petrol to lighting up them. But the petrol was not enough for so much. They have no chance to try it. From the escape of the spell they know. But what else should they do? They have no choice. That it was impossible to kill them knows every survivor, also without the knowledge of the news. Anja asked Susan how many zombies survived the fire. Susan approximates 10 or 20. That means every woman has to fight against 5 burned walker. That wasn't fair, 10 against 2. Also the enemy was dumb like a brick. The chances were better if they have more petrol. Suddenly Anja remember that she find high% alcohol in the store to make fire in the chimney of her house or to drunk herself to death. That maximize our chances a lot to survive this shit. Susan answered with joy. Together they pour the inflammable liquids as much as they can over the zombies. After the canisters and bottles were empty, Susan lighting up a piece of paper and let it fall down to the wet zombies. 1 second later the flames crawl up to the hole in the ceiling and the zombies break down one after another. After 20 minutes, the most of the walkers were burned to death. Now there were only 5 burned undead with black eyes and a really bad orientation. Susan goes first with her sharp machete and climbed down on the warm ladder. Halfway down she stopped, leaned down with her arms and swing the machete from right to the left. She gets 2 of them and cut a head and an underjaw. She jumps the rest of the way and lands with her feet on the torso of a zombie. Anja tried to climb as fast as she can down to help her new friend. At the last rung of the ladder she gets burned and fall down. After she stands up and takes her kitchen axe, she starts at once to cut the next zombie in pieces to help Susan. It was no second too late, because the zombie came close from behind and tried to bite Susan's neck. After a few seconds later, only shaking body parts lie on the ground and both women can leave the building. To avoid new contacts, they leave very fast. Through the main entrance they come to the main street and watched carefully for more walking stinker. After they checked the surrounding, Susan wanted to leave the town, but Anja asked her to wait. She asked Susan to wait for a few days and to come with her. She wants to show Susan her house, but Susan didn't want to stay. It was too dangerous to stay. Anja explained her new friend that her bag is only full with food and she needs more to leave the town than that. She has to go to her house to pack a few things and then they can leave. Susan understands that. Anja and she didn't come far enough with a few tins, bottles of water and a few hygienic articles in Anja's bag. But the best argument was that she didn't want to divide her sleeping bag every night with her new friend. After they arrived at Anja's house, they need at first rest. Her husband secured the house very good with nailed boards on the windows and a few iron sticks on the doors. Hundreds of zombies couldn't come into this secure house. At the moment the women were secure in the house, but not forever. After a few weeks they have to leave the building to search for food. That wasn't a plan for the future, because all food will be rotten or there will be no food anymore. To be a farmer it wasn't too less garden and they couldn't be long enough outside without danger. They have to leave the town to search for a better place or for a protected area. After 2 days Susan gets enough rest and Anja was finished to pack all what she need. She had more than one rolling cases with clothes, food, hygienic articles, sleeping bag, a plastic sheet and weapons. On her belt she wears her kitchen axe and the largest knife from the kitchen. That was almost the whole story. Anja only tells the others that they escape by cutting zombies in pieces and always saving each other's ass. To escape they follow always the same scheme. They run like the wind and climb up on everything like trees, garages, roofs and electricity lines. To be faster, the women leave their cases back, because the zombies weren't interested about that. For secure sleep they bond themselves with ropes on a tree or electricity line up in the high of more than 6 or 7 meters. If the zombies didn't leave the area, Anja lets Susan down on a rope to cut the head of the undead with her machete. After only headless corpses walk around, the women come down and leave the area without danger after they catch the cases. Anja ends the story with the words, "And that was the story how I met Susan."